That's a great question, and thank you for asking it in such a kind way. Yeah, I think we're getting better and better at measuring emotion. And for immersion, again, much of that value that I'm getting, social value that my brain gets from a customer service experience or a movie or an ad, comes from the emotional state. So uh, I, we individuals who want to create customer experiences, we're constantly trying to give you a positive emotional state. So why not use AI to measure that? Uh, I think the difficulty with that is if we put you in um, a VR setting in which I can create an extraordinary experience, and just like crying in the movies, the brain adapts to VR very, very rapidly. My concern is that not we, some humans will just stay in the VR space forever, right? So I think it's very interesting. We're seeing a lot of this in Japan that we're seeing very, very low birth rates in Japan, right? Below replacement rate. And a lot of that is kind of a loss of, in my view, and from what I've read, I've been there many times, but that loss of the ability to interact in the real world with a human. And so my concern is that I can create an I, but the world could create such compelling augmented reality, virtual reality experiences using AI that you know, uh, I don't want to live outside that world. Having said that, when we measure neurologic data, very high frequency, 1 second or even higher frequency out of the brain, and when we apply machine learning to that, we're able to predict things like which songs will be hits 3 months in advance, whether people will watch a YouTube video with 95 plus percent certainty. So the neuroscience plus machine learning gives us almost scarily accurate predictive abilities. And that worries me a little bit, right? So I think we're never going to get to 100% for neurologic reasons I can explain in a second. But if I'm able to predict hit songs with 95% accuracy, which we have, um, what does it mean for those songs that only get 10 listens? The band and their moms heard this stream on Spotify. Now, there may be a place for that. Maybe we create a new streaming service for songs that will never be hits, but still some people like them or whatever, like long tail, right? So I do think, as I said earlier, I'm a cheap guy. So I think once we have the neuroscience measurements, from the streaming services perspective, for music, let's just talk about that. I can think about where to put my marketing dollars. I can think about how to distribute this, how to market this in a much more effective way, because I have pretty high probability of knowing which songs are going to be hits, as opposed to kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, which is often done. So I'm certainly not against artificial intelligence. I do think that we want to be careful that we don't set the bar too high, so that the artificial experiences we create crowd out the in-person experiences. So Vignesh, we talked about neurochemicals, and so this uh, neurochemical that gets us into these immersive states, dopamine, is the same neurochemical that is increased a millionfold when people take methamphetamine or cocaine, and so these VR experiences have this dopaminergic kind of reward value to us. And so, yeah, if I hit that system too hard, just like in people who use stimulants for years, the system just burns out. And so when you look at drug addicts, particularly people who use stimulants, they tend to be very emotionally flat because that system has been hit so many times with the world's best experience. So again, I don't think virtual reality can do that necessarily, but it's a concern for me neurologically, right? That I'm going to create this experience that will actually give me that almost drug like fabulous emotional state with avatars that are gorgeous who fall in love with me and my life is perfect. And then I got to go back in real life and talk to my wife who's cranky and talk to my kids who are crying. And, I just want to escape into that world. So I think there's some risks there. I think I don't know the solution, by the way. I think it's great for many members of society to have this discussion. Just like when my children were little, and you guys probably did the same thing, we would limit their screen time just because it's so compelling to be playing a game all the time. A little bit's okay. I think same thing with alcohol, same thing with most things. Most things in biology have this inverted U curve where none is not so good for you and a ton is bad for you, but sort of in the middle, it's okay. If you have a glass of wine at night or two, it's not going to hurt you. Probably looks like it's probably good for you. But yeah, if you're spending an hour a day in VR and it's a fun experience and you're doing some cool quest, I don't have a problem with that. But I think for the was this famous case of this. Remember this young man in South Korea some years ago who literally like for 36 hours was one of these video game cafes and literally just died playing. Right. So that's this system that's in overdrive, particularly this dopamine system, where you're getting so much reward from it that it crowds out the need to eat, to sleep. That's not good.